The U.S. President Donald Trump has urged everyone involved in efforts to end the Gaza war to move fast.
And this is as mediators are set to meet in Egypt on Monday, of course, today, for indirect peace talks between Hamas and Israel.
Yeah, we're going to very quickly. We had some very good meetings. The countries of the world, a lot of the countries surrounding Israel, frankly, Muslim, Arab, and many others have had great meetings with Hamas, and it looks like it's working. So we'll wait for a little while, see how it all turns out.
When will the administration begin firing?
I think it'll work very quickly. I think it's going to go very quickly. The meetings seem to be very good. We'll find out. We'll let you know soon.
The talks come after Hamas agreed to some parts of the U.S.'s 20-point peace plan, including freeing hostages in exchange for Palestinians held in Israeli jails.
The group's response did not mention the key demands of its disarmament, but Al Arabiya, citing sources, said that the group has agreed to hand over weapons under international supervision.
In a post on social media earlier, Trump said that talks had been very successful and that the first phase should be completed this week. The foreign ministers from several countries, including Egypt, said that the talks at the Egyptian resort town were a real opportunity to achieve a sustainable ceasefire.
A senior Hamas official told AFP on the conditions of anonymity that the Palestinian group is very keen to reach an agreement to end the war and immediately begin the prisoner exchange process in accordance with the field conditions. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu expressed hope to announce the release of hostages in the coming days.
Now, Netanyahu ordered the departure of the Israeli delegation on Monday for the crucial talks. The Hamas delegation, headed by chief negotiator Khalil al-Hayya, one of the targets of an Israeli assassination attempt in Doha last month, arrived in Cairo on Sunday night. U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner, and Qatari Foreign Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Al Thani will also be attending.
Seal the deal. These were the chants which reverberated in Jerusalem as hundreds continued their protest outside the private residence of Benjamin Netanyahu. They also sent out a strong message to Ron Dermer, who is Israel's chief negotiator.
A remembrance ceremony was held outside the Israeli embassy in Athens to mark the victims of the October 7 Hamas attack, while elsewhere pro-Palestinian protesters rallied in front of the Greek parliament to support an end to the war. Pro-Palestinian protests were also held in parts of Serbia, the UK, among other places.
This while Israeli strikes continued in Gaza, despite Trump as well as U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio telling the country to immediately stop bombing the Strip. Rubio said, "You can't release hostages in the middle of strikes, so the strikes will have to stop." Israeli government spokesperson told reporters on Sunday that while certain bombings have actually stopped inside Gaza, there's no ceasefire in place at this point in time. And Gaza's civil defense agency said that Israeli attacks killed at least 20 people across the territory on Sunday, 13 of them in Gaza City.
Meanwhile, the first 21 of the 49 Spanish activists who were part of the Gaza aid flotilla intercepted earlier this week landed in Madrid airport, where they reported having been mistreated and subjected to humiliating treatment during their detention.
All right, there's more on this, and for that we're now being joined live by Dr. Abner Cohen. He's joining us from Monterey, California. He's the professor of non-proliferation and terrorism studies, Middlesbury Institute, and a West Asia analyst. Dr. Cohen, thanks so much for joining us here on World DNA.
Thank you.
Netanyahu, he gave his condition yesterday, this is shortly before the talks, that unless all the hostages are released, no part of this 20-point peace plan will be enacted. Now, the conditions, do you feel that's going to put any kind of a spanner in the works, or is Hamas pretty much on board to let all of the hostages back?
My impression is that the Hamas is, in principle, on board. I think there are some issues to be negotiated, the details. I think that there are a certain kind of assurances, unpublicized, that were given to the Hamas from the United States through negotiators, Egypt, Turkey, and Qatar, that makes the Hamas to feel comfortable that they can go to this to these negotiations with a good chance of success.
Anything you can share
not
on
everything.
on those unpublicized assurances, sir? Anything more you can share on that?
Yeah, and again, it's my interpretation, my understanding. It's not knowledge that I understand it was given them a certain kind of guarantee that Israel would not target any of the Hamas leaders who arrived to Egypt or anywhere else. That Israel would agree on major cessations of its operations during the time. Certain kind of guarantees about Israeli exercise of power, and also possibly about the release of the Palestinian prisoners in Israel were already agreed, but has not been publicized. That's my impression.
Right, and I will
That's the
also
reason
add-
why both sides feel that the chance for success this time is rather high, not assured, but rather high.
And I would like to want you to elaborate on that point as well, because we are talking about the hostage release, and Netanyahu has said that we're not going to go ahead if the hostages aren't released. But considering that as Rubio had pointed out, the ceasefire, there is no ceasefire. The bombardment is still going on. Do you think there is a possibility that Netanyahu might go for a ceasefire when it comes to hostages?
Yes, I do. The full ceasefire, right now they call it halt of operation or cessation of offensive operation. It's informal phrase in response to the request of US President Trump to stop all offensive operations. And my understanding is most of them have been stopped, maybe not all of them, maybe some stuff was in the middle, but essentially most of them were stopped and were halted. The official ceasefire will be agreed once it will be signed. That is to say, along with the agreement about what prisoners are going to be released from Israeli jails, the dates, how much time it will take. As of now, the request is within 72 hours within the signing of the deal. And the common view in both Tel Aviv, as well as Cairo, and as well as Washington, is that both sides, with a strong pressure of the United States, are committed to do it in a short time. Short time means a few days, and then to sign it. And then I think would be a full formal ceasefire.
And on that, I would also want you to ask you on the Hamas. Now, of course, the hostages were the one sticking point which Hamas had in their hands. Do you think when it comes to disarmament, would Hamas would willingly want to go for disarmament after this hostage swap is completed?
That's a more tricky issue. And that's going to be the negotiation over that would be after. So Israel is essentially getting the cash, and it gives some kind of credit, so to speak, because the negotiation of the terms of what would happen the next phase, that is to say, what would happen in the Gaza Strip, what would be, to what extent would be international force to take care of that, to what extent new Palestinian policemen would be trained, and all that details, including the disarming of the Hamas and the elimination of the Hamas as a military organization. All those details needs to be worked out. I agree with you. It would be very, very difficult to agree, let alone to verify that Hamas will be ready to remove all individual weapons, rifles and the like.
Understood.
I think much of it refers to offensive weapon, that is to say, missiles and mortars and the like. But it would be very difficult to be able to, on the individual levels, to disarm everybody, every member of the Hamas.
Well, there are a lot of difficulties, but the talks have reached this point, and they seem more, there is more ambition behind this, at least at this time, and more possibility of a possible conclusion at the end of this than there has been in the past 2 years at least. Let's see where this goes. Of course, lots needs to be ironed out. That was Dr. Abner Cohen joining us from California. Always a pleasure speaking with you, Doctor.
Thank you.